Welcome to Wednesday, April 19th, 2023, Alcohol Licensing Review Committee. Jim, can you read the hybrid meeting?
Sure. Welcome to our hybrid meeting. Participants in the room, please do not join the meeting in Zoom. Virtual participants, if you lose connection at any point during the meeting, you can reconnect by clicking the link or calling the number in your original email. Members attending virtually, if you are able, please activate your video for purpose of quorum and keep it on for the duration of the meeting. Staff, if you are able, please activate your video when you are speaking. Members of the committee, when you wish to speak, ask questions, or request a roll call vote, please push the person button on your microphone or raise, that's this one, then just raise your hand, or raise your hand virtually. Those in the room will have their microphone turned on. Actually, the microphone's on, so it's just you and me, so.
It's always on.
Those attending virtually can unmute themselves when recognized. When you are finished, all should mute themselves. Members of the public who have registered to speak, those appearing virtually, the name you entered in Zoom must match the name you entered in registration. You will remain muted until called upon. If you are here in person, when you are called to speak, approach the desk right there with the microphone. And for all registrants, the clerk will tell you when your time is up. After all public speakers, a member of the body may ask you a question. If you need to share documentation with the committee, please send it to the email listed on today's agenda. Thanks. Chair, the floor is yours.
Thank you. This meeting is governed by Robert's Rules of Order. All speakers wishing to address the committee regarding an agenda item must first complete a registration form and submit it to the city clerk designee. Speakers may speak to the committee only after they're called on by the chair. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. After speaking to the committee, please take your seat in the gallery or mute yourself on Zoom. The public is not allowed to address or respond to speakers or committee members unless they've been recognized by the chair of the committee. Mr. Verbeek, do we have any notified absences today?
Mr. Donnelly is our notified absence, and Captain Hansen as well, but Lieutenant Minert is in here in his stead.
Excellent. Okay. I call the April 19th, 2023 meeting of ALRC to order at 5:39 p.m. Mr. Verbeek, can you do the roll call, please?
Sure. Mr. Bereshuk? No. Dr. Reese?
Here.
Dr. Reese is here. Ms. Farley?
Present.
Yep, Farley is here. Donnelly's excused. Westra?
Here.
Westra is here. Verveer?
Here.
Verveer is here. Aldemiadzi?
Present.
Aldemiadzi is here. Alder Knox?
Here.
Alder Knox is here. Chair, we have quorum.
Thank you. First order of business is to move approval of the minutes of last month's meeting. Would someone like to put that on the floor, please?
There he is.
Alderman Adzi.
Approved minutes last month.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Dr. Reese. Any discussion? Okay, I'll say, any objections? Then we will move approved. Excellent. Jim, is there anyone signed up for public comment?
There is not.
Thank you. And we are now ready for the consent agenda. Mr. Verbeek, can you present us consent agenda, please, today?
Sure. So the proposed consent agenda for today's meeting of April 19th, 2023, recommended council to grant temporary Class B retailer license concurrent with street use permits, items 2 and 3. Change of agents, items 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and entity reorganization, items 11 and 12.
Is there anything people would like to take off? Okay, so I guess we're going to go forward with the consent agenda as is.
There's a motion to,
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Burshak. Do I have a second? Second by Alder Knox. Any dissent? So approved. So the consent agenda is approved. Mr. Verwick, can you read all of the ones that have been removed from our agenda?
sure. So the past consent agenda for ALRC meeting April 19th, 2023, recommend to council to grant item number 2, temporary Class B retailer license concurrent with street use permit, Wisconsin Chamber of Orchestra, Inc., event location, Capitol Square between the corner of South Carroll and West Main and the corner of East Mifflin and North Pinckney. Event dates, June 28th, July 5th, 12th, 19th, 27th, and August 2nd, from 4 to 9 p.m. Rain dates would be the following Thursday, or the Thursday following those dates. The event is Concerts on the Square. Item number 3, temporary Class B retailer license concurrent with street use permit, Underdog Pet Rescue and Veterinary Services, event location 100 block of Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. Event dates June 3rd, 23rd, and 30th, July 21st, 28th, and September 15th. The event is live on King Street. Item number 4, change of agent, Quick Trip Inc. Item number 5, change of agent, Portillo's Hot Dogs LLC at 4505 East Town Mall. Item number 6, change of agent, Portillo's Hot Dogs LLC at 7230 West Town Way. Item number 7, change of agent, The Cheesecake Factory, Inc. Item number 8, change of agent, Gerald A. Bartel Community Theater Foundation. Item number 9, change of agent, BSBC LLC. Item number 10, change of agent, CEC Entertainment LLC. Item number 11, entity reorganization, Gerald A. Bartel Community Theater Foundation. And item number 12, entity reorganization, Pat and Mike, Inc.
Thank you. So if your item was on the consent agenda, you have just completed your ALRC time and you no longer need to be here. Mr. Verbeek, we have, my understanding is we have 3 items that have interpreters tonight.
Yes, 4 if you count 14 and 20 together.
Okay. So since we need to have interpreters, we're going to take these items first. So the first one will be items 14 and 20, which is a 21 plus entertainment license for Serato Entertainment Incorporated, doing business as the Capitol, and a new license for Serato Entertainment Incorporated, doing business as the Capitol. Mr. Verwick, do we have any residents for this? I can't talk. I have a cold. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. I don't see anyone registered. I know the interpreter said he did call them and they said that they planned to present at tonight's meeting, but I do not see anyone at this time for either 14 or 20. Let me refresh just to make sure.
If I may, I contacted item 14 last week, and just last night I contacted item 20, and both told me that they were going to be here. So if you want, you can go to other business and I will call them back to remind them that I sent them also the link to register for the meeting.
Gotcha.
So I will give them a call just as a reminder, just in case, and
Okay.
let you know if there are any issues.
Well, right after this, we're going to go to the next one that needs interpretation. So if we get to the end and we don't have them, the committee wants to table it for now.
Yep.
I don't see them registered.
Okay.
Okay.
We need a motion to table.
Yes.
Then I'll make that motion until we get the parties on the line.
Okay. Is that a second, Alder Madzi? Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
So item 14 and item 20 is back on the table. So let's move on to item 16. And that's the only one we have. The 21-plus entertainment license for La Polera Colombiana on East Wash Avenue. Do we have any registrants?
I'm not seeing registrants for that one either.
Alder Bodzi?
Motion to table that as well.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion on this? Okay, so we'll put this, any objections to putting this back on to putting this one on the table? Okay, then we'll move along to it's that one. Item 21, which is a new license for Monona Eatery and Bakery. This is our last one that needs an interpreter. Mr. Verrick, do we have any registrants for this one?
Yes, we do. Claudia Galmaneta is registered in here.
Okay. Claudia, welcome to the ALRC. If you could just give us a little bit of information about what you're looking for with your new license and some information on your business.
Hola Claudia, gracias por estar aquí con nosotros. Si nos pudiera dar un poco más de información sobre lo que pretende hacer con su licencia y un poco de información sobre su negocio.
Somos un negocio con comida centroamericana, comida americana, desayunos y todo eso, pero estamos buscando lo del vino y la cerveza, al menos para muchas de nuestros clientes nos están pidiendo de que abrimos realmente, que si podíamos agregar eso. Lo estuvimos pensando mucho y creo que ya llegó el tiempo, estamos más desarrollados, estamos más organizados. Pienso que es el momento de poder complacer a nuestros clientes con las cosas que nos han estado diciendo.
Yeah, we are a business that we offer Central American food and also American breakfast. And now we believe like several of our clients have been asking about wine and beer. And now that we are more developed and better organized, we are like thinking of offering this to our clients since they are asking for it.
One point of order, we need to swear in the interpreter.
Oh,
If I can have you raise your right hand. Do you affirm that you'll accurately interpret English to Spanish and Spanish to English?
I do.
Excellent.
Now we're good. Committee, are there any questions for the registrant? Okay, I'm not seeing any questions for the registrant.
¿No hay ninguna pregunta para usted, Claudia?
I move approval.
Mr. Burshak moves approval. Do I have a second? A second with Dr. Reese. Any objections? Item number 21 is approved.
Claudia, se ha aprobado. Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you too.
I did send an email to the two applicants that are not in attendance that need the interpretation, so I think we can move on to the non-interpret items. If
Okay.
Julio, if you want to reach out to them and see if they're available, that'd be great.
Yep, I will try.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so that brings us back to item 13, which is a change of license premise for the Muskie Lounge and Sporting Club at 4102 Monona Drive with their agent Chad Vogel. Do we have any registrants for this item?
No, I don't see anyone register for this item.
Okay.
Have they said have they mentioned that they plan to be here today?
I've not heard from them.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
So do we have a motion on what to do with this?
I move to refer to the next regularly scheduled meeting.
Second by Elder Matze. Any objection? Item 13 is referred to the next meeting of the ALRC. So next up will be items 15 and 22, a 21-plus entertainment license for Mendota Hospitality LLC, doing business as Mendota Hospitality at 2920 Sherman Avenue. Agent Joel Steinman. And bringing up along with that is item 22, which is the new license for Mendota Hospitality LLC, doing business as Mendota Hospitality. This is for a Class B or combination liquor and beer license. Do we have any registrants for this?
Yep, Vern Stenman is registered and on Zoom. Vern, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Vern, can you tell us a little bit about what your plans are for Mendota Hospitality?
Certainly. Thank you for the time tonight. Basically, there's not really any major changes with how we're going to be operating. Mendota Hospitality is being created to enter into a contract with Madison Mallards LLC to hold the liquor license and operate the food and beverage operations here at the baseball stadium. Basically, we're working through some interpretation of state law regarding how liquor licenses are held in sports teams and things like that. And it's been recommended to us that we kind of change our structure to comply with state law. And we are not doing anything different day to day in our operation. Some employees from the Mallards are going to move over to Mendota Hospitality that will oversee the management. Fans and attendees will not see really any operational differences at the stadium next year.
Committee, are there questions for Mr. Steinman? Mr. Burshak?
So Mendota Hospitality is also applying for a 21 plus entertainment license. Am I the only one who found a blank application in the packet?
It shouldn't have been blank.
Okay.
Let me fix that.
So I'll check that out. But my other question was, if there was a recent ordinance change that was that started in this committee, and it changed who's required to have the entertainment license. So if Mendota Hospitality is a caterer, then if the venue secures the entertainment, according to my understanding, they have to get the entertainment license. Is anyone else on the? So my question is, will the entertainment be secured by the venue or Mendota Hospitality?
Is that a question for me, or is that best answered?
That's a question for you.
Okay. I know we briefly discussed this with the clerk's office. And my recollection is that direction from the clerk's office was that Mendota Hospitality should pursue the entertainment license.
Okay, that's what
Is that
you.
correct?
I think, well, at the time when they applied, that was before the ordinance was changed. I think it all depends on who is doing the booking. Like, is Mendota Hospitality doing the booking, or are the Mallards doing the booking?
We're early enough on that we could probably do it either way. Honestly, it's probably going to be Mallards booking most of the entertainment when we do have it.
I'd have to defer to the attorney's office on how exactly the ordinance is written, but I think it might be whoever booking holds the entertainment license. I think Assistant City Attorney Jennifer Zilvey might have a better idea of, and she's got her hand raised, so she can chime in.
That was not why my hand was raised, but I'll get to that in a minute. So you said that nothing's really going to change, but isn't it true that your service of hard alcohol is changing?
Oh, yeah, there's a minor change on that topic. Previously, we had permission for a full liquor license, and we had a self-imposed restriction to only offer hard alcohol drinks to private parties in the stadium. And we are requesting to just be a normal full license in this case, where we can use intoxicating liquor for drinks throughout the stadium, including for sale to the public. We did bring that to the Parks Commission at their February meeting and received their support for that pursuit, and have been in discussion with the North District Police Department and received their support for our plans.
So what you're talking about is a condition that the ALRC placed on your license. Whether it was self-imposed initially or not, the ALRC did put it as a condition on your license. And my understanding with what was presented to the North Police District was that you were planning on offering prepackaged cocktails.
We're doing prepackaged and premixed was the conversation we had with the North District.
Well, so in your little plan here, it says initially the plan would be to offer prepackaged cocktails.
Yeah.
So if you're doing that, my understanding was the captain didn't have an issue with that, but I'm not sure about this free flowing of hard alcohol to the general public was something that they contemplated.
Okay, I don't have the application wording in front of me. Our intent was not to pursue anything different here than we had discussed with the North District. Are you seeing
it says hospitality plans to offer a full selection of liquor, wine, and beer to the public for purchase. Initially, the plan would be to offer prepackaged cocktails and slushy products with liquor for public sale.
Which I believe is what we proposed to the North District Police. Is that not? Maybe I'm missing something.
Well, you say initially, so the implication there is that you might do that initially, but then you're going to get rid of the prepackaged and just go to a free-for-all with the hard liquor.
Sure. That's not our intent. If it's possible to remove the word initially, at this point, I'm not sure, but our intent is to have prepackaged and slushy, and that is what we requested support for from the North District. And I think we used the same wording in our conversations with them, including the initially, with the idea being that we might have some flexibility to see how things go. I don't think we really honestly have interest in setting up full bars to provide liquor to the public.
If the ALRC wanted to put a condition that it was only for prepackaged cocktails to the, other than the condition that's already there that hard alcohol is only available for the private parties, and I think in the duck blind, is that right?
It's really, I think the wording in the previous license, which was held by the Mallards, and I guess I was under the understanding that we're kind of starting from scratch with the new license here. So I didn't expect that any conditions attached to the previous license would be transferred with. Maybe I misunderstood that, but if the ALRC wanted to have a restriction regarding prepackaged alcoholic beverages, and we would want to include slushies in that is part of our plan for this summer that was specifically discussed with the North District. That would be absolutely fine on our side.
Okay. And to answer the other question about the entertainment license, I'm going to have to find the ordinance and read it before I can answer that, unless Attorney Brist has an answer right away. So I'll disappear for a minute and then I'll come back.
I'm going to have to rely on Jennifer's to check that out. I don't have access to that.
So while we're looking on that information on item 14 for the 21 plus entertainment license, let's focus on the new liquor license and what we want to do with that. Dr. Reese?
Thank you. Vern, I'm curious if will there be any continuity in staff that was involved in serving alcohol previously that will also be involved when you all move forward with this? And then I was also wondering if you could talk to us a little bit about just some of the highlights of your safety plan, particularly, keeping an eye on parking lot and drunk driving kinds of things.
Yeah, absolutely. And there will certainly be continuity in staff. This will be my 23rd summer here with the Mallards. I have been the agent most of that time period. We've shifted it back and forth, but I was the agent for the last, I think, 2 years for the Mallards, and I will be the agent moving forward. Our full-time culinary team that oversees our alcohol policies will be transitioning as employees formally of the Madison Mallards. They will become employees of Mendota Hospitality pending approval of this new license. And the same with our part-time employees. And that's really where the strength of our organization comes in. I think we have around 30 to 35 bartenders that work for us in the summer. The vast majority of them have been working for us, over 10 or 15 years, and have been through training with the police department, training internally, and have done an outstanding job controlling consumption at our venue. And one thing, I don't have the exact plan in front of me right now. I can pull it up here momentarily, but we're extremely proud of this plan. We put it in place, I think 13 or 14 years ago now, in partnership with the police department, the parks department, and our team. And we've continued to tweak it every single year, make adjustments. We bring it to the Parks Commission on an annual basis for their review and approval. We meet with the North District Police Captain at least once a year, typically a couple times a year, to go over all kinds of issues related to not just our license, but also community and neighborhood traffic and access and neighborhood impact and things like that. Those conversations have all been very positive. I hate saying things like this, but every year when we talk to the police, we do ask about DUIs, and to my knowledge, there hasn't been a DUI tied to our stadium. I believe our entire existence, at least that I haven't been made aware of. So that's something we're very proud of. We work hard on it, and we take it very seriously.
Thanks. And one other question. for the entertainment license, is the intent for that basically just entertainment during ball games, or you're not proposing to start throwing concerts there?
We have held concerts here, and I believe that we are, set up appropriately from a permitting perspective to be able to host a larger scale concert. We do not intend to do that in the near future. The reason that we're applying for the entertainment license today is more related to small in-game entertainment. When we bring in live bands periodically, maybe 3 or 4 times a year, that play, maybe a pre-game or a post-game concert. Not as loud, not a big production, and we certainly have plans for that kind of thing this year.
Thanks. And then I guess I just had one other technical item for your staff or the attorneys. It looks like the breakdown between alcohol and food is very close to that 50% line. And just thinking about adding in liquor, could push that up a little bit. So do we have a concern? Does that apply to this venue, that less than 50% standard?
I will say no, because they're not a restaurant. It's a different sort of venue. And to the question of the entertainment license, I believe Mendota Hospitality is the appropriate entity to hold the entertainment license, because it's basically just an LLC formed by Vern and Connor. So that would be the appropriate entity.
That's all I had. Thanks.
Thanks. Alder Knox?
I just had one question. So did you say that the Parks Commission approved your alcohol consumption action plan?
We bring the plan to them on an annual basis, and we brought it to them in their February meeting this year, and they did approve it at that time. And we did have a specific amendment to it to allow the modification in liquor sales to the public. And we wanted to get that blessing from the Parks Commission prior to coming to the LRC to make sure that we just had everything kind of lined up and had the appropriate support before we came to you.
Okay. And I guess for staff, is that something that should be attached somewhere to, our information that they've been approved by the Parks Commission? I'm new to this, so.
Yeah, we don't have access to the same place where that information is stored. So we usually rely on either the applicant getting it to us or an effort by the parks folks to get it to us.
But we have nothing on file or anything like that?
Not at this moment for the committee.
Okay, thank you.
Alder Bonzi?
I just wanted to chime in here. I've talked to Vern on quite a few occasions, being the alder of the 18th district right across the street from the Mallard Stadium. And I keep a very close eye on, anything that's going on in the district, especially with MPD related. So I wanted to see if we can go ahead and move this for approval, but I wanted to see if we can actually scratch out the word initially and to move this to approval.
A second. Oh.
Okay, a second for that. Do we have any other registrants for this?
No.
Okay. So no other registrants, so we're good with that. So the motion is to approve with removing initially from the license or from the application?
From the application. I don't know. I see Attorney Zellevy. Let's hear words of wisdom here.
So if that's what you want to do, the best way to do it would be if you adopt the Mendota Hospitality Responsible Alcohol Consumption Action Plan for 2023, and then remove initially. If it might be easier just to make it as a condition on the license that intoxicating liquor can only be sold to the general public through prepackaged cocktails.
That works.
And just to clarify again, we do, our hope is to create like a slushy machine that we would make with like a brandy old fashioned slushy, basically. That would be a pre-mixed thing by us. And I want to make sure that any language that's, adopted here would it give us that, hopefully give us that flexibility.
Dr. Reese?
I think I was after, Ms. Farley Pratt, sorry. What was my question? Sorry. Oh, I was just going to ask about what the previous condition was on the previous license, if we have that available.
So the previous condition was liquor will only be available in privately rented spaces at events. Liquor will not be made available to the general public at events. Liquor will also not be available in general admission areas of the Great Dane Duck Blind, except allowed one date of liquor sales to general admission areas in the summer of 2020, and they must notify the MPD North Police District ahead of the event.
So Vern, do those conditions jive with your current plans, or is there anything that jumps out at you that would be problematic? Obviously, the one day in 2020 doesn't apply here, but.
Yeah, I think that the difference is that essentially previous to this new license, we could only do it in private spaces. And our hope is to be able to offer canned and pre-mixed alcoholic beverages to the entire stadium, including, the general admission areas.
Okay. Alder Knox.
Yeah, I think I might have left my button open, but while you have it, I do have a question. So, given the previous conditions, were those conditions in place because it's a kid-friendly environment, where they would have the alcohol in a private venue space where they would serve that, as opposed to, everywhere in the stadium? Does anybody have any kind of historical context on that, and why that condition was previously in place? I'm just curious. I'm thinking it's a ball game. So
I have some context, but I'm not sure if others do. But it was probably 6 years ago, 7 years ago, maybe, that we came to the ALRC and asked for the ability to serve liquor. And at that time, we were going to be, I believe, the first city of Madison Park to have liquor available at all. And so when we came up with the proposal to both the Parks Commission and then ultimately the ALRC, we offered, we said this, we saw it as kind of an incremental step. Let's see how it goes in private spaces. And then maybe in the future, we might ask to do what we're asking today to expand it to the entire stadium. I think that in that time period, that category has changed quite a bit, with pre-canned cocktails becoming much more prominent. I don't think we even were aware of that really as a possibility 6 or 7 years ago. And I think that from a pursuit of providing a diverse lineup of alcoholic beverages at the stadium and staying current with current trends, that this at this point seems like a reasonable pursuit. And based on our track record, I think it is something that we feel like we can manage responsibly. And, I think that, the Parks Commission and the police department also, at least at this point, I believe that we can manage it properly as well. And you're right, it is a family-friendly atmosphere, and we're always that's more important to us than anything. And we're going to make sure that we manage this in a way that maintains that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Keep my hand, lower my hand here.
Okay. Mr. Burshak?
I was going to say, if it would be okay with everyone if we took the previous condition and then put a bracket around it and made exactly the new thing that the applicant wants to do as an exception to all of the previous condition. I think that achieves what we're trying to do, and if it makes sense to everyone, I would advocate for that.
Dr. Reese?
I'm not sure if that works. It might just because I don't have them in front of me, but there was a lot of mention of private spaces in the previous condition. So really, if what we're looking for is a more controlled concept of liquor in this case, but approving the plan going forward, I guess for those of you that have the conditions in front of you, we could just take a closer look and see what makes the most sense there.
And one other piece of historic information.
Vern,
Okay.
I can't have you. Thank you. Attorney Zalvi, did you have anything to say? You had your hand up and then it went away.
Oh, I was just going to chime in about that initially there was a discussion about it being a family-friendly event and talk of I forget what the area is called, but the little party deck and then the private spaces were less likely to have the kids in them, and that the stands were more of the family destination, which was one of the reasons for the condition as it was.
Oh, Alder Mudzi, sorry. I'm thinking.
The way you say that name is, you have to think about Miyagi, but with a Z. So Miyadzi.
Miyadzi. There we go.
Yeah, there you go.
I hear it all the time. The brain just isn't processing it.
No, it's all good. I just wanted to hear what Vern had to say, so I wanted to see if he could be unmuted to chime in.
Yeah, all I was going to say is that the previous language, yes, certainly was a lot more, restrictive and self-imposed, as well as my recollection is like that's kind of the way we brought the concept to the ALRC. The event in 2020 was actually was intended to be another step in our process towards doing this. We were going to do an old-fashioned themed night again in 2020. The hope was that we do that event in 2020, see if there's any concerns, move on and continue forward. And I think, again, as the category continues to evolve, our hope today is that that we're able to do the two things that we had asked, the canned and the pre-mixed cocktails to the public, and we're hopeful we can pursue that.
Alder Revere.
Thank you, Chair. It would be easier, I think, for all of us if Captain Donahue or one of her lieutenants was with us to understand exactly the concerns of the North Police District. I realize Attorney Zillivi is trying her best to communicate that to us. So I have all sorts of documents open in front of me, including the current license, the Parks Commission minutes of their February 8th meeting. And then, of course, the current application, Vern. So maybe the quickest way to try to get at this and move along is it you don't have any of that in front of you? It sounds like, Vern, is that correct? Any of these documents?
I can get, which one are you looking at?
Well, I was originally, to an earlier suggestion, looking at your current license and how it's worded. They're not actually really worded in the form of conditions. They're worded as the definition of your license premise with a bunch of exceptions in it.
Yeah, I do not have that. I don't think I actually have that.
And I know it's already been read aloud by the chair, so I don't mean to waste time and repeat everything, but maybe if I could just read one sentence from it, and Attorney Zillivi, since you're the one that's communicated with Captain Donahue, it sounds like more than any of the rest of us here, by continuing the sentence that says liquor will not be available in general admission areas of the Great Dane Duck Blind, would that address the North Police District's concern, do you believe, Attorney Zillivi? Or am I missing the larger point?
I don't know whether Captain Donahue anticipated that the conditions that are currently on the license would remain, but she did not have an issue with the canned or pre-made cocktails.
But she apparently did, you believe, with the slushies?
Well, I mean, I think that's the same thing, basically.
Okay, it's the same thing.
A different name for it. So any pre-made,
Vern talked about a slushy machine, I thought.
pre-made, pre-packaged cocktails, she did not have an issue with.
And then referring to the other documents, so I'm able to confirm that apparently the exact same document that's attached to the application before us presently, entitled Mendota Hospitality Responsible Alcohol Consumption Action Plan for 2023, indeed is the identical document that the Board of Park Commissioners had before them in February, where they did vote unanimously to, quote, accept the report without amendment, which I think was something that maybe it was Alder Knox or others asked about earlier. But I agree with, I know I'm just thinking aloud here, Chair, rather than asking questions. It seems to me that, as Attorney Zillivi advised earlier, it would make most sense to have this on the license instead of striking the word initially and attachment to the application. So maybe one last stab at this, Attorney Zillivi, would be in reading from that, quote, responsible alcohol consumption action plan, with the acknowledgement from the applicant that initially was perhaps a mistaken choice of word in this document. If we use the same language, though, that said that liquor would not be available except in pre-packaged, and again using their language, pre-packaged cocktails and slushy products, would that?
Yeah, I think for the general public, yes, I think that would satisfy that.
And asking the applicant then, Chair, is that meet your objections? Do you have any objectives? You have no objection to that, I take it?
That would be great. That would be great.
And then just one additional question, Vern, in the same document, it under duck blind conduct rules, it says, quote, no liquor-based beverages will be made available to the public on the duck blind. Is that consistent with what you've earlier said your plan is for this upcoming season?
Yes, that is.
Okay.
And to clarify too, this is the exact same document that I brought to the Parks Commission in February. The only change is at that time, we actually thought that we were still going to be operating as Madison Mallards LLC instead of transitioning to this new entity. And so it was Madison Mallards LLC at that time, not Mendota Hospitality, but otherwise it is the same document.
Yes, I did note that as well, that obviously the legal advice you had from private counsel was since February, apparently, because that is the only change, is just the entity name in the title. Okay, well, thank you very much, both of you, and thank you, Chair.
Okay, so we already had a motion on the floor that was seconded, so we're changing the condition. So is what Alder Revere said, is that acceptable to both of you? Dr. Reese, Alder?
Yes, that's acceptable to me.
Okay, thank you. So this will be, that wording will take over. I've got two people in the queue, but Mr. Vervick?
I just want to add that I looked up, because it is weird that there's sort of conditions and the premises to the current license. It actually was not conditions placed in the license by the committee, but that's the premises that was written in the original application. I can't remember if that was said at the top of when we took this item, but that's how the initial Madison Mallard's application read for the premise that they had those exclusions on their application.
Okay, so I don't see anyone have any hands up anymore, any questions. So are we ready to finish this up? Is there any objections to approving this right now? Seeing none, item number 22 and item number 15 are approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me see if our interpretation items are.
Yep, I was just going to ask if our interpretation items have come back around.
Julio says he got in touch with one and then got in touch with at least somebody who could get in touch with the other one. But I didn't see the last time I looked at this, but let me check again. So 14 and 20, still don't see anyone, nor with 16. But item 13, which we did refer, the applicant is now here.
Alder Revere.
Thank you. As the deputy city clerk just articulated, that the applicant is now here for agenda item 13. I was able to get in touch with Chad Vogel. So I would move to formally reconsider our previous action for agenda item 13 at this time, Chair.
I have a second by Dr. Reese. Any objections? Okay, we'll bring forward item 13, change of license premise for the Muskie Lounge and Sporting Club in Aldermanic District 15. Chad, can you let us know what your plans are for the change of license premise?
Absolutely. Again, thank you everybody for reconsidering. I apologize for my tardiness. I was under the understanding that I was in the May meeting, but I'm glad I was able to get on here. Basically, what we're doing at the Muskie is we're making an extension. The place next to us went out of business, and we're taking over their space. And what we're doing is we're putting in a private party space next door, along with a standalone restaurant. The restaurant portion will be takeout only, kind of order on your phone, pick up at a window through the Muskie, or pick up through a area or off Buckeye Road. We built a new entrance into there. But as far as from what your standpoint is, as far as the alcohol license, we're making an addition to have parties of 40 to 80 people in the next door space, which will be attached to the Muskie through a door to that space.
is that door going to be in the front in the front side of the bar, or is that going to be in the back side?
It will be in the front side of the bar. It will come off the front room of the Muskie.
Okay.
So in fact, there's a storefront door in front of this space, which we're going to make basically an exit only area. So everybody has to come through the current Muskie to get into the private party space, just as a like way to make sure we know who's coming in and coming out. But the private space will have a small bar for servicing that area.
And the plan is to only use that as private space besides the restaurant.
Yes, rented out space. I would assume, if for instance we do the strip mall carnival, which we do on a yearly basis, we might open it for like large events like that. But for the most part, it's for events, birthday parties, rehearsal dinners, things of that nature. We do get a lot of. We actually already do kind of do that, but it's harder without a special, like a kind of designated space. We have, birthday parties of 20 coming in, and it gets a little crowded, and they don't. It'll be easier to like organize the event rather than kind of have it on top of our regular business.
Okay. Are there any other questions for Mr. Vogel? Dr. Reese.
Yeah. Would these parties have any entertainment at them, like a DJ or anything?
We don't hold a cabaret license at this point. We don't expect that sort of activity to happen. I would say if anybody did want some sort of entertainment, it would be acoustic only. It is certainly not the intention to have a live band there amplified. And we don't really want to do that because it would disrupt the space next door. So that is not our intention at all.
Okay, thanks. And just if you did, you can come back.
Of course.
Are there any questions for staff? And does anyone have a motion?
If no one else is registered, I move approval.
Do I have a second? Second by Alder Verrier. Any dissent? Okay, item number 13 is approved. Thank you very much. And Mr. Rurick, do we have anything for our interpreters?
Let me refresh again.
Okay.
Uh, 14 no, 16 no, and 20 no.
Okay, so we'll be bringing forward item number 17 and item number 26. Item number 17 is a 21-plus entertainment license for Dark Star Art Bar LLC, doing business as Dark Star Art Bar on 756 East Washington Avenue. Agent Joshua Schwentzel in Alder Rummel's district. And item number 26 is a new license for the Dark Star Art Bar LLC in that same location. Do we have any registrants for this item?
Josh Schwentzel is registered in here.
Josh, welcome to the committee. Can you give us a little bit of information of what you plan to do at Dark Star?
Josh, are you there?
Yeah, sorry, I'm not so good at this Zoom stuff, but I am here, if you can hear me.
Yep, we hear you.
If there was a question asked, I did not hear the question, though. I was trying to get the microphone.
No problem. Josh, if you could just give us information of what you're planning to do at Dark Star and what your business plan is and what you plan to do in the space.
Sure. So we, truth be told, it's very similar to what Dark Horse, which was in the space, was kind of modeled after. There's a lot of media focus. It'll be a gallery space. We will have live music. It will also serve as kind of an overflow tavern area for like when Stevens is crazy and the Sylvie, both of which have so much programming this year, and people are just kind of looking for a place to kind of schedule events around that situation, to just be open for the general public. Those instances. We're really to focus on selling a little work, a very curated selection. Nothing too gimmicky outside of that. Fundraisers, that sort of thing. We have on our liquor license, you'll see on our application rather, we do have early hours kind of requested there for like 10 a.m. to bar time. Kind of restrict ourselves from being like daytime, like meat raffle fundraisers, or Saturday and Sundays are really good opportunities to do things like that in the daytime. But our hours of operation, I think, are going to be about 2 p.m. either bar time or event time, or at this time directly above the space is a commercial space that is not rented. Directly above that is another commercial space that is not rented. They are negotiating, I believe they are negotiating leases for those spaces, and those tenants are very informed of what we are planning to do. So there doesn't seem to be any immediate noise or concerns about that. Residents above that should have no problems whatsoever. We're kind of guaranteed that by the previous situation at Dark Horse and also at Star Bar, that they never really had any complaints about noise, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, that's the gist of it right there.
Okay. Dr. Reese.
First of all, excited to see this space coming back in a music format or entertainment format, because we don't have a lot of spaces that size. Josh, can you tell us about any previous experience you have in this kind of business?
All I heard there, I'm sorry, was you don't have a lot of spaces in this business. I didn't hear the first part.
Can you tell us about any previous experience you have in this kind of business?
I'm sorry, I still couldn't hear the question.
Can you tell us about previous experience you have in this business? I wonder if we want to have Josh try to call in. We're having kind of a choppy connection.
Yeah.
Be able to kind of be an answer to the Live Nation situation, but also kind of focus on like a little more focused non-regular live music as opposed to like weekly scheduled gigs, but trying to promote like these smaller bands, doing flyer promotion and whatnot, and trying to kind of being a stepping stone for a lot of these places. So we're not looking to sell out every show by any means. We're looking to be a stepping stone and kind of be a conduit for up and coming bands, musicians, singer-songwriters, etc., that sort of thing. So we're definitely not looking to be like, hey, we're going to pack this place every single night. We're looking to be an art space first and foremost, and then a tavern, and then a gallery, and that sort of thing.
So Josh, now that we have you back, I think Dr. Reese was also trying to ask, what is your experience running an establishment like this?
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, so I personally have not worked. Can everybody hear me okay? Sorry.
Yep.
I haven't worked at specifically a venue in the city of Madison, but I have worked at a lot of places that hosted shows. Mickey's is one of them. Sorry, I got an ambulance going by. Mickey's is one of them. The Harmony is one of them. Before the Ohio Tavern happened, I worked at Jenna's for many years. And upstairs, we would have a lot of DJ and party situations. I have a pretty strong record of safe serving and making sure that my staff is conscious and educated. And we're not trying to get anybody stumbling out the door. We're trying to make sure everybody has a good time. This particular concept is definitely a little bit new to me in that sense. But as far as how it needs to operate in a safe way, I feel pretty confident that I have a lot of experience there. My partner in this venture is Sam Johnson, who is the GM of Dark Horse before it closed. So he's very familiar with the space and the clientele, etc.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Attorney
Zillaby.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. More of a technical question for Jim, probably, but it looks like the entertainment license was completed online just by the font and it's not signed. Do we not at least require a name typed in the signature line and a date?
Oh, that would be my mistake. I'm sorry about this.
Yeah, that must have been missed when it came in with the alcohol license.
Okay.
I can take care of that as soon as possible. I'm very sorry about that.
Okay, thanks. Just a technical thing.
Thank you. Alder Knox?
Yeah, you talked about a little bit about your experience. Can you talk a little bit about your security plan?
So in this situation, I personally feel like it would be kind of wrong for me to guarantee that there is a plan. There is definitely a plan of learning. I do know that we have a single entrance in the front. Parking is offered by the venue in the back. People then need to come around to the front. So a full-time security staff is going to be in place, mostly posted at the door. All those people are going to be trained in de-escalation. They will also be responsible beverage server trained, regardless of if they're a bartender or not, so they can kind of learn to recognize those things. When we have concerts or live music, we are partnering with a company called Menu Pilot, and they're out of New York, and it's very similar to kind of Ticketmaster, but it's for independent venues. So we will have a really good amount of control of who's getting in. Have they purchased a ticket? Are they just walking in? That sort of situation. I feel pretty confident about that. As far as the nights where we're just kind of open for, people walking around for all these different events that are going on. If it seems like it's going to be a really busy night, and we kind of have to judge that case by case basis, we will have those same people trained at the door, carding people at the door. And again, all of those people are it's not going to be like, I'm going to call a friend. They're going to work the door. These are going to be staff of the venue, of the establishment that are trained in carding people, de-escalation, identification, that sort of thing. If anything arises where it gets more complicated than that, I am absolutely open to working with whatever tools are at my disposal to figure something new out. But at this time, it's a small enough place where I'm not too concerned about it, because especially we do have the only single entrance and people cannot enter from the common area of the building, which is something I'm very happy about. Outside of that, I think just making sure that people, especially during events, that we have kind of an estimation of how many people are going to be attending, how much hype is there about this particular event, is going to allow us case by case to plan appropriately for each event.
Okay, Attorney Zillaby, is there some requirement for, and maybe I don't know if the police department's represented here, but is there some kind of requirement for a security plan for an event like this? I'm having a problem negotiating all these documents, you guys, so. Is the assistant attorney around? Oh, can you hear me?
I am. I thought Attorney Brist was going to answer the question.
Okay. jump in, whoever.
And I'm sorry, can you state the question again?
I was just saying, is a venue like this required to have a security plan, and does the police department have a record of such approved plan or negotiated plan or what have you?
For this specific application, I don't think they do.
Is it required or suggested or?
Well, with the entertainment license, I mean, we'd like people to think about what a plan is for sure.
I thought maybe they had to sit down with the police department, talk about security issues, and maybe someone would either approve it or the MPD would have some recommendations relative to that.
Can I interject for just a second?
No. Not right now, Josh.
Darn it, sorry.
No, that's not a requirement or
I'm just looking up the entertainment license to see what the specific language is.
Okay. Sorry about that, you guys. I'm a newbie, so
Nope, that's good. And this is a 21 plus entertainment license?
It is.
It says all entertainment license applicants shall submit a security/operational plan at the time of application. The plan shall indicate what type of live entertainment the establishment will offer. The plan shall indicate the number of security personnel the applicant will employ and how they will be utilized. The security plan shall also set forth how the applicant will handle issues regarding control and clearance of the parking lot during hours of operation and at closing time. Unruly patrons, patrons who are intoxicated, patrons presenting false IDs, control and supervision of patrons under the age of 21, the circumstances under which the police should be called and how physical disturbances, including fights, will be handled. The security plan shall also identify by name and date of birth individuals who are employed by the establishment in a management capacity.
And do we have that as record?
We do. It's on the entertainment license on the second page.
Okay.
It's all boxes for them to fill in.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Burshak?
Yeah, two questions. One, I believe you don't have a parking lot, so that would be why that question's not filled in. And if I'm incorrect, let me know. And then the other thing was you were about to say something. I wanted to give you an opportunity to say that now, Josh.
Thank you. Yeah, I didn't mean to necessarily add anything that was unwarranted. We had, as per the application process, contacted the district. My information is with the captain over there, so no concerns popped up at that time. They do have my information if anything we can talk about in the future. As far as the parking lot goes, I was actually unaware that we had, I guess, ramp parking essentially behind the venue. I didn't know that at the time. So I suppose I can address that to a certain degree of, people definitely kind of keep an eyes on that. And there's also, a camera system within the building and whatnot. I would need to look a little more into that for who has access to that, who's monitoring that sort of thing. We weren't necessarily trying to utilize that as much, just so we had people coming in the front, focusing on parking out front, walk-up traffic, bike traffic. That's kind of where we want to keep our focus on getting customers into the bar. So I can't address that further now that I do have that information. But it's not going to be a priority of having, especially with all the residents up front. I'm not exactly off the top of my head. I'm not sure how many spaces we have access to back there, etc. But we're not going to kind of push that so that we have a lot of people leaving at, like, say, 1 o'clock in the morning or 12 o'clock at night, going into this back parking garage and leaving and congregating and whatnot.
So that parking garage, those parking spots is something your business has control over?
Yeah, and when I filled out the application, I did not realize that we were still kind of negotiating lease and whatnot. So essentially, the parking garage in the back is used for employee parking for the other commercial spaces up until basically 5 or 6 p.m. or something along those lines. And they just sort of kind of casually said, and if your patrons wanted to use that, they could. So that was just something they kind of casually said. I'm not necessarily interested in, pushing people back there. So we also have to, keep eyes on another space that's not exactly directly attached to our space. That doesn't interest me. But if it gets to a point where, we're requiring that parking and we need to adjust accordingly, I'd be absolutely more than happy to do so. But it's a real small spot. I mean, the place, I think, with walk-up traffic and bike traffic and just that general area is such a mecca of people walking around looking for entertainment or a drink, etc. I think we're going to attract most from that. So I don't think that would be a point of interest for at least a while.
Mm-hmm. All right, thanks for that. No further questions.
Dr. Reese,
Move approval.
do I have a second on that? Mr. Burshak? Any discussion? Seeing none. Any dissent? Seeing none. Items 17 and item 26 are approved. Thank you, Jeff.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Have a good night.
Okay, moving on to item 18. New license for Vice Grounds LLC, doing business as Twisted Grounds on 6067 Gemini Drive. Agent Abby Paddock. And this is for a Class B combination liquor and beer license in Aldermanic District 3.
Abby Padlock is registered in here.
Excellent. Abby, can you tell us about your business and what you plan to do over at Twisted Grounds?
Hi. Yes. So we currently we do the tap beer and wine right now. And then we've been getting a lot of talk from the community about adding some more like classic brunch cocktails, some like a Bloody Mary menu and things like that. And so, yeah, we're looking to implement that. I know that we'll start doing it. We want to start it more like from Thursday to Sunday, just so we can kind of ease it in and see how it goes and see how, popular it gets and see like how many, staff we would need to have on hand to help facilitate it all. But then we would eventually like to have it offered every day. So yeah, we're looking to we're a very small space. So we're not looking to be like just a bar where you can walk up and just get, a Jack and Coke. It'd be something like a classic cocktail menu, like brunch cocktail menu that you just order off of that. And we'd have pretty much like one of each spirit available. So yeah, that's what we're looking to do. We haven't had any issues with our beer and wine right now. The majority of our staff all have their operator license and do really well with carding and making sure what we do right now, like when people get mimosas and stuff, we have wristbands that they're given once they're carded. So like on the bottomless situation, then we don't have to continue carding them. And we have cameras like in our parking lot and facing our outside seating area as well, just to help with any issues rising there. But we really have never had any issues with any customers currently with our beer and wine.
And your hours are on your license what you're currently open as? You're not making any changes to that?
So we currently are open I apologize, I can't exactly remember what's on that. We're currently open 7 to 5, but then 7 to 9 on Thursdays for trivia. But we would be in our summer hours, we would do 7 to 7 and then 7 to 9 Thursdays and Fridays, but 7 to 7 every other day. Thursdays we stick with our trivia, and then Fridays we have live music as well. So that's why those hours are extended. It wouldn't go beyond the 9.
So Jim, do we have to make an adjustment to their application then? Because they have 7 to 5, Sunday through Wednesday and Saturday. They've written down.
If they just want to amend it on the record, they can do that.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, we're currently 7 to 5. Sorry, and then during the summer we switched to extended hours.
Okay. So we'll just need to amend that on the record that it will be 7 to 7, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday.
Yes.
Okay. Take into account those summer hours. Committee, are there any questions for the applicant? Seeing none, are there any questions for staff? Okay, what's your pleasure?
I move approval.
Do I have a second?
Second.
A second by Alder Revere. Any discussion? Seeing none. Any objections? Seeing none. This item is approved. Item 18 is approved. Thank you very much. Next up, item 19. New license for El Vaquero LLC, doing business at El Vaquero Mexican Grill on 3904 East Washington Avenue for a Class B beer license. Is anyone registered for this?
Yes, Eric is here. You can take a seat at the
Got a
desk.
person in the audience. Yay!
Grab a seat here.
Yep. Eric, if you can introduce yourself for the committee and then let us give us some information about what you're planning to do over there.
Yes. Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Is this on? Okay. Hi. My name's Eric. Right now we are just working as a restaurant. It's a Mexican grill. It's more of a casual, fast, come, sit, grab and go. It's not full service. So that's the reason we're just looking to serve beer. We plan to have the beer behind the counters in a fridge where the customer will need to request the beer instead of being them like grabbing like a soda. Right now, we have a different restaurant. It's called Garibaldi Mexican Restaurant. That's a full service restaurant. So I have some experience with like serving liquor, beer. Like I said, we're not looking to serve liquor, just beer. I know when serving mixed drinks, you need a bartender, need more staff to be looking out for customers. So really, we just want to do beer, like, bottled beers. So that's really all we plan for, just to have that as the customer. I know we've gotten some requests like, hey, are you guys ever getting beers? Since we do sell like tacos, burritos, quesadillas, customers, I guess, and the Mexican grill, I guess they're expecting to have some kind of beer or like liquor. So I think that's really all we're looking for, just for a side, I guess.
You guys just opened in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, we
correct?
opened last month on the 8th. Yeah, so
Okay.
we've only been a month open. Like I said, we've been working with Just Food so far. Thankfully, it's been picking up. Word of mouth is starting to get out. So that's been, good.
Great. Committee, are there any questions for Eric? Mr. Burshak?
How long have you been working in the food and beverage industry?
Since I was 14, really. I had my first job at Laredo's Mexican Restaurant. It's on East Wash. It's actually near El Vaquero now. So that was my very first job. I was a busboy. I worked there till I was 17. Then my family started Garibaldi Mexican Restaurant. That was in 2020. Right when I was getting out of high school, that started. I've been working there the past 3 years. So really almost since I started working.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Oh, Attorney Zillavi, I cannot pronounce things
Very
today.
good. Very good.
Thank you. It's Mr. Verbeck.
Item 10 on the application is blank. Do you have parking for your establishment?
Yes, it's parking. It's a plaza, so it's shared with AT&T, FedEx, and Men's Warehouse.
Okay. And did you complete the beverage server training course?
Yes,
Do you know when you did that?
I just did that this week. It was Tuesday, yesterday.
Okay. And you left item number 26 blank. The question is, do you plan to have live entertainment?
No, we don't.
And are you the registered agent for your LLC?
I believe I am, yes.
Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alder Knox.
It could have been just a figure of speech, but you kind of described your place as a grab and go. Are you planning to serve beer with the meal or also carry out? I guess I was a little confused.
Yeah, no, not carry out or with the meal. I guess more like a drink, for like the drinks side of when customers want to grab a drink with their food, but
okay.
not to go. No.
Not to carry out. Okay.
Yeah, no.
Sorry, just a point of order. Which item are we on right now?
19.
19.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for the registrant? Seeing none, are there any questions for city staff? Seeing none. Committee, what do you want to do?
I'll move approval.
Second by Dr. Reese. Any discussion? Any dissent? Seeing none, item number 19 is approved.
All right. Thank you very much for everyone's time. I really
Thank you.
appreciate it. You guys should check out Vaquero. Grab some lunch.
Chair, if you could, there's two people in the attendees list. There's a phone number and a 0190 manager. If we could check to see if those are either the items that need interpretation. Otherwise, I think we can probably cut the interpreter loose at this point.
Do you like me to unmute the attendees?
Yeah, I just asked the phone number to unmute first.
Yeah, hi, this is Steve Shervinsky.
What am I here for?
I'm actually number 7, change of agent for the Cheesecake Factory, but I do not need...
We approved you, so you can take off if you want.
Oh, okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. All right, and then somebody's registered as 0190 MGR.
Okay. Let me make an announcement in Spanish, just in case.
Yeah.
Sí, hola. Si hay alguien que está presente que necesita interpretación en español, los restaurantes que estamos esperando son Luis Cerrato y estamos esperando también a La Pollera Colombiana.
No.
Si están escuchando, quizás pueden levantar la mano para que les hagan panelistas y así poder participar en la sesión. Pueden levantar la mano en la parte de abajo de Zoom. Si están en una computadora, pueden ver una mano que pone Raise Hand, o en su computadora, en el teléfono también, si pinchan en los 3 puntitos después de tocar la pantalla, les dará una opción para levantar la mano y así que el secretario pueda ver que están aquí presentes. Estamos esperando a Luis Cerrato y a La Pollera Colombiana.
It looks like while you were talking, they left. So I don't believe any of those registrants are here.
Yep.
Okay.
So let's, since we're going to release the interpreter, let's go back for these items, bring them off the table, and so that we can move them on to next month. So who would like
Can
to?
you read the item number?
Yep.
14 is the
So
first one.
item 14 and item 20, a 21 plus entertainment license for Sorrento Entertainment doing business as the Capitol, and item 20, which is a new license for Sorrento Entertainment doing business as the Capitol. Currently have that on the table.
I move to take them off the table and refer to next meeting.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Knox. Any objections? Seeing none, these have been referred to the next meeting of the ALRC. Alder Bennett, if you are still here, I think, was it item 14 and 20 that you were here for?
Yeah.
Yep, I was waiting on those. So that's fine. I get to sit here and watch you all.
Okay. So next up, we have on the table item 16, 21 plus entertainment license for La Polara Colombiana LLC doing business as the same on 3579 East Washington Avenue. Alder Knox?
Sorry, that was inadvertent. I didn't take it down the last time.
Okay. Mr. Burshak?
I move to take item 16 off the table and refer it to next meeting.
Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. A second for that by Alder Knox, and no objections. We'll refer item 16 to the next meeting of the ALRC. That brings us, is that it?
23, I think.
23. There we go.
21.
No, not 23.
Do we do
21, maybe?
No, we did take 21. It was the one interpreter item that we had.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, you're right.
Okay.
22 didn't.
So I think
Delta we did.
those are all good. We're not any.
23 or 2.
We did the Mendoza.
Yep, so we are ready to move on 23. We have taken care of all of the ones that we needed the interpreter for and had tabled. Okay, so picking back up, now we are fully in order. Item number 23, public hearing for a new license for Classy Glass Incorporated doing business as the Francis Street Market, 438 North Francis Street. Agent Adrian Holtzman. Jim, do we have any registrants for this?
Adrian Holtzman is registered and, yep, here, under name Classy Glass. Okay.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello. Adrian, can you tell us about your business and what you're planning to do with the Francis Street Market?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody, for your time tonight. Francis Street Market has been in business for over 3 years now. It's a restaurant and a convenience store, and we're known for our cheesesteaks, our tacos, our pizzas, and our breakfast sandwiches. And our customers are constantly asking us when we're going to be able to start selling beer and wine to go along with the food and to possibly carry out. And we opened the business right before the pandemic started, actually, so not the best timing on our part. But we did keep it open and kept our staff, and actually built the business during the pandemic. And so now that the pandemic's over and, the capacity restrictions have loosened up and that kind of stuff is hopefully in the rearview mirror for everybody, we now it's time for us to apply for this license to give our customers what they've been asking for. And so we are relatively a small location, and therefore we only have 7 seats inside and only 20 seats outside in our private fenced-in back patio that's only accessible from the inside of the store. So everybody's got to come into our store first. And one of the risk mitigation factors we're putting in is we're not going to allow alcohol-only orders. We're going to require that, like, if somebody wants to have a drink, they also have to order food. And then on top of that, it's going to be our company policy to not allow anybody to have more than 3 drinks per visit. So we really are trying to make sure that we really limit the amount of alcohol that people are even able to consume while they're at our restaurant. And so that way we're going to hopefully really mitigate any type of over-intoxication or anything like that. And so I made sure to reach out to all the people and invite them to our informational session, including the deputy clerk, the Central Police Captain Mike Hansen, City Alder Patrick Heck, and Campus Neighbor Association President Elijah. And Alder Heck and Campus President Elijah actually came to my info session, and we had a really positive discussion about the risk mitigation and our security plan that I have also emailed. We have a comprehensive security plan that details how we're going to have bouncers, we're going to have a head of security, our people are going to be trained to know how to deal with fake identification, how to spot overconsumption, how to properly de-escalate a situation if things get escalated, or, you know. But one of the risk mitigation factors is we're not going to have a bar. Everybody's going to have to be seated. So there's hopefully going to be not going to be a lot of people kind of bumping into each other and pushing and shoving to try and get up to the bar. They're all going to be relaxed in their own seat, and we're going to bring the alcohol to them once they've ordered their food along with it. So that's just kind of a nutshell of how we plan to, maintain a safe serving environment for guests and for the nearby neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. Committee, any questions for the applicant? Attorney.
Is your indoor capacity only 7?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. You have a very comprehensive plan. I appreciate that. Addressing all the issues. Do not see that very often, and I appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am. It's our pleasure, and we really take the opportunity and the responsibility very seriously, and so we wanted to come correct.
Thank you.
Ms. Farley?
Yep. I'll also comment on the appreciation for the thoroughness of the plan. I did want to ask, you mentioned that your customers had been asking for alcohol sales as well as carry-out options. So I just wanted to clarify if your alcohol sales plan included consumption not on premises. I think you're probably familiar with the regulations around the Class B license, but I just wanted to confirm.
Well, it was originally our intention to just at least offer it to our dine-in guests, and then upon learning more about the provisions of the license, as I understand it, that it would be possible to go and allow people to carry out with the proper conditions in place, like not being able to sell individual cans and things like that, that we're definitely willing to comply with. And so that's kind of, we would like to be able to sell like 6-packs and bottles of wine if that is allowed by the license. But our main thing is really to be able to serve it to our guests on premises. So, but we have lockable cooler where we would be able to store the beer and wine and then not sell that after 9 o'clock, and then still just be able to serve on premises.
Okay, Alder Knox.
Yeah, that was my question, given that you have a small capacity inside, but you have a convenience store. That's kind of what I was wondering. Were you planning to offer carry out and that? I guess, I don't know, maybe staff is that a different type of license or not necessarily? And is that the request in this particular alcohol license request?
A Class B beer normally permits carry out unless we place a condition on it.
Okay, thanks.
Alder Verveer.
Thank you, Chair. Adrian, it was good to run into you on the sidewalk a couple of weeks ago and discuss your application briefly. Since we ran into each other, I did take the time to read the zoning code provisions of the alcohol overlay district. And my interpretation of the zoning code, not the alcohol code, but the zoning code, is that you would, unfortunately for your wishes tonight as articulated by yourself, would not be able to offer carry out service. It would be contrary to the zoning code and again, the so-called alcohol overlay district, which you're very much in the midst of. So from a land use perspective, liquor stores and accessory retail alcohol sales are strictly prohibited if you're a new use, and that's what you would be here. An analogy that would be easy to understand is when the 7-Eleven store opened many years ago at the corner of State and Lake, they were very disappointed to find out. In fact, the deputy city clerk probably might recall that they actually filed an alcohol application to sell beer at the 7-Eleven, and we're told, no, they can't lawfully apply for a beer license there. Because you're able to argue that you're a bona fide restaurant, however, you would be allowed under the zoning code to be permitted as a permitted use to have incidental alcohol sales since you are a restaurant. So that kind of settles that. I think for comfort, though, we would be advised to have a condition on your license to that effect. Do you understand what I just shared with you?
Yes, sir. Yep, I understand.
Yeah. Have you had a chance, Adrian, to see the memo from now former alderperson Patrick Heck with his recommendation to our committee? Did he share his email to you that he had drafted over the weekend?
Yes, sir, he did. And I also received a similar email from president of the Campus Area Neighborhood Association, Elijah. And I appreciate those letters from them.
Yes, and the committee has both of those in our packets here in the record, both from Patrick and Eli. And as you, I'm sure, figured out, your newly minted second district alder has been very patiently and with us all night. And so we'll let her speak certainly to her recommendation. But since I do have Patrick's memo in front of me, I just want to confirm with you if we could have a colloquy here on record. He does suggest, as you know, specific conditions. I'm not saying that this is what the committee will have in the form of a motion or the exact wording, but consistent with my first point, which would be sub B in his email, he says, quote, limit alcohol to inside the establishment and the secure back patio. Parenthetically, no alcohol on the front porch with the capacities that you have included in your application of 7 inside and 20 outside. Is that agreeable to you? A condition to that effect, since the zoning code won't let you have carry out.
Yes, sir. That's very agreeable to us.
And then sub C reads require alcohol sales to stop at 1:30 a.m. Thursday through Saturday and 11:30 p.m. otherwise. Is that agreeable to you as well?
Yes, sir. That's agreeable to us.
And then lastly, he recommends a condition that limits alcohol sales to a maximum of 30% of revenue. Is that?
Yes, sir. That's agreeable.
You're comfortable with that? Okay. Great. I appreciate that. One last thing, and I'll yield to my colleague, Alder Bennett. Just as it relates to your rear patio, and I know you've obviously been in business several years now, and we've known each other from when I was your alder person there on North Francis Street. Did you go ahead and secure a conditional use permit? And I know you obviously know our zoning staff from other issues that we've had, but do you have in hand a conditional use permit for outdoor food and drink consumption in that back patio? Do you have that license, or it's actually a letter of approval?
We have not from zoning. I have the health department food manager license in hand, and but we don't have a outdoor food permit. I wasn't privy to that.
Yeah, so I would strongly advise, at your earliest convenience, to either call or go in person to the lower level of the Madison Municipal Building, downstairs where the city clerk's office temporarily is located, right under the city clerk's office, and go to the counter and ask one of the zoning staff. Explain to the zoning staff that you have a current food and beverage outdoor area there, and you want to ensure that you're in compliance with the zoning code for that outdoor food and drink. Since the pandemic, we liberalized the process to secure such permission. In the past, you had to go to make application and go before the Plan Commission for a public hearing. But if you agree to a series of standard conditions, then you can be administratively approved and would not need to go to the Plan Commission. But I really encourage you to do that. I think the zoning staff will catch non-compliance in any event, because as you probably are aware, Adrian, before the city clerk's office will issue your license, if it's granted by the policymakers, you are required to pass a series of inspections, and one of them is zoning. But you might as well get out ahead of that, assuming that you'll have favorable consideration here, and again, make sure that you have the permission for that outdoor food and drink.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'd be happy to go and make sure I get that zoning approval for the outdoor food and drink. Definitely. I'll do that as soon as possible.
Thank you very much, Adrian.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
With that, Chair, I'll yield. Thank you.
Okay, I've got actually Mr. Burshak next, and then Alder Bennett.
Can I just?
Oh, hold on. And
just a note for the applicant, building inspection and zoning right now are appointment only. So I'd hate you to come down to the city county building and be sent away to make an application. So I would go to building inspection's website, and you can either schedule an appointment with building inspection or zoning, and do that before you show up.
Yes, sir. Okay, go to their website. Will do. Thank you.
Mr. Burshak.
Yep. Okay. Hi, Adrian. 2 questions. What are your current hours on the weekends?
We're currently open until 3 a.m. on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Okay.
It is somewhat weather dependent. If it's really, really bad out, we just close early. But that is when we're typically until midnight, Sunday through Wednesday.
Okay. So are people ordering dinner at 1:30, 2 in the morning?
Yeah, some people we serve tacos typically on the front porch, and people come in for breakfast sandwiches and or cheesesteak sandwiches, pizzas. So that's what we're kind of like the we have food later into the night where some of the food options are more limited.
Okay, and then last question: you know how to spot, at 1:30 in the morning, close to bar time. It's very possible that someone's coming from a different bar and might already have had enough to drink. You know how to spot that, or have been trained, or learn that kind of skill.
Yes, sir. Yes, I, as part of this application process, I had to take the ServSafe training, and that part of that course does definitely go into detail about how to spot over intoxication, and to be a responsible liquor server and administrator, you definitely don't want to serve people that are already demonstrating signs of intoxication. But in addition to that, I have lots of experience of working as a bartender. In Wisconsin here, I've worked at Place Paisans that most people might know. And I worked there a happy hour many months, and over a year actually. So I had a lot of experience making sure not to overserve people and understand the different levels of intoxication.
Okay, thanks.
So we're gonna be able to prevent that.
Thanks for your answers. No further questions.
Alder Bennett.
Oh boy, thank you. Hi. So I'm taking over, District 2, which was Alder Hexseed, and I'm sorry that I didn't get to talk to you one-on-one before this, but I'm more so just deferring to his actions. But I love your plan that you have going on right now, but if you will humor me just to respond to a concern that I heard from a neighbor, and that is about, the late night noise, and just serving late night and maybe having empty bottles or trash outside. How will you work that into your plan, and even how is it the current plan laid out to be respectful and responsible to all the neighboring areas in this in your facilities?
Yes, thank you for that question, and congratulations on becoming the new alder for our district. It's exciting to meet you. And that's definitely a concern we take seriously with regard to making sure we don't disturb our neighbors and that we be good stewards of our neighborhood. One of the things that is a feature of what our plan is we're not going to be having like live bands. We're not going to be having DJs. Any music we have would be relatively low volume from small speakers, just to kind of help maintain a kind of specific environment. But we're not really trying to be like a bar. We're really just trying to be a restaurant, and we're going to stop serving alcohol regardless at 1:30. And those times are flexible to what the committee thinks is the most appropriate time for that part of the neighborhood. But yeah, in terms of like having everything be done and closed, like we're going to stop serving at 1:30. So then that way there won't be new people coming out there past that time. It would just be people finishing up. And since we, again, have the 3-drink limit per person, it's going to be pretty quickly people coming, like people leaving, not staying and hanging around to have several drinks. So that will hopefully reduce and minimize. And obviously, we're going to be cognizant of if we can point out and notice that things are being noisy, we're going to definitely, get those people out of there if they're not able to quiet down and be respectful. But yeah, that is definitely something that we're going to take very seriously and very much try to maintain the order and the calmness and keep the peace back there.
Sure, cool. Thank you so much. And speaking of about the 3-drink limit, what sort of tracking systems you have in place to make sure, that people aren't being served more than 3? I know you don't have that many patrons, but I don't know if it would be hard to keep track of how
yeah. Yeah, so our plan for that is to just keep track of each bill separately. So each person, we're not going to have like a group ticket. Each person's going to have their own ticket. And so we'll be able to, manually and visually see how many drinks they've ordered. And so once they get to 3, that'll be their last alcoholic drink that they're able to order on that visit. And so, we're not, everything's going to be single use or serving size, individual serving size. So we're not doing like pitchers, we're not doing fish bowls, we're not doing, bottomless anything. Everything's going to be just pre-portioned amounts. And, once they order 3 of them on one ticket, then that's it. They're going to be cut off from ordering more alcohol.
Sure. Thanks, Adrian. And I have one last question for you. And please don't take these as me trying to trip you up. I'm just curious. So for the ID checking that I saw in like your security plan, I just wanted to double back check this. When I talked to former Alder Heck about this, he noted that the IDs, you would encourage patrons to have their IDs on file with your staff. Is that still true, or are they just going to be checking IDs as they as your patrons come in?
Yeah. So part of what we're trying to maintain is like a know your customer type environment. So in order to help also reduce any chance of incidences, we want to at least have there be one member of any group that comes in be somebody that's part of our registered members, basically. So we keep like a copy of their ID on file, because we don't necessarily want to have just random strangers coming in, especially like you said, like especially late night, maybe they're already intoxicated from somewhere else, and being able to come in and start consuming alcohol on our premises. We really want to just try to maintain a environment where at least one person knows that we know who they are, and if they're bringing people in and those people aren't respecting our rules or whatever, then it's going to obviously invalidate the person who is on file with us. We're going to be able to like actually then, suspend their privileges or revoke their privileges to drink on our premises going forward. And so that in itself was another just kind of risk mitigation idea that we had in order to really just minimize and hopefully prevent or avoid issues of patrons, coming, getting over intoxicated, starting problems. We want people that are going to come and respect the space, respect our business, and enjoy the food and the drinks and the nice environment we're going to make available for them.
Awesome. Thank you, Adrian.
Thank you. My pleasure. Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you too.
Are there any other questions for the applicant? Seeing none. Mr. Verrick, are there any registrants for this item?
No additional registrants.
Oh. Any questions for city staff? Seeing none, what's your pleasure, Mr. Burshak?
I'd like to move approval with the conditions suggested by Alder Heck, former Alder Heck. And I can read those.
Yes, if you could, please, for the record.
So the first one is alcohol shall be limited to inside the establishment in the secure back patio. No alcohol in the front porch. Alcohol sales stop at 1:30 a.m. Thursday through Saturday and 11:30 p.m. otherwise.
Would you also put a condition about not selling to go?
Yes.
For no off-premise consumption.
I don't. That might be covered, but that's would be my intention. And so, someone can help me with the motion if that's what needs to be done. And then, but the last one that suggested by former Alder Heck was limit alcohol sales to a minimum of, or to a maximum rather, of 30% of revenue.
Alder Revere?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm happy to second the amendment, and I did noodle some language that I think would cover the deputy city clerk's suggestion. So might I just share what my motion was going to be if I had raised my hand earlier?
Yes, please.
Okay. And maybe we can merge the language perhaps. So I had suggested that there be 3 conditions, and that condition number 1 read as follows: alcohol sales shall be limited to on-premise consumption only in the interior dining room and rear patio. Condition number 2, alcohol service shall cease by 11:30 p.m. Sunday through Wednesday and 1:30 a.m. Thursday through Saturday. And third and finally, alcohol gross receipts shall be limited to 30% of overall revenue. I'm happy to repeat that if need be. And I'm not suggesting my language is better than former Alder Hex or anybody else's. I thought it might be more inclusive and more in line with the way we word conditions generally in our meetings.
Do we need that repeated at all?
No, that's how I watch video.
Okay. So we don't need to do that repeated. Is that fine with you?
Just fine with me. Are we confident that the off-premises sales is covered, or do we need to add one for that?
I think the way that Alder Revere worded the first condition is fine.
Okay, good. Then I'm okay with that.
Okay, so we've got the language, we've got the second. Any other discussion on this motion? Seeing none, any dissent? Seeing none, item number 23 is approved with the conditions that were laid out by Alder Revere and Mr. Burshak's motion. Thank you very much, Mr. Holtzman. Next up, item number 24. New license for Madison Operating LLC, doing business as Texas Roadhouse at 7104 Watts Road. Agent Jackson Hurd. And he's here in person.
And Peter Freeman is registered and on Zoom as well.
Okay. Jackson, if you can tell us a little bit about what you're planning to do over at Texas Roadhouse for those of us who don't know.
Absolutely. As you hinted, I don't think there's anybody here that probably doesn't know what Texas Roadhouse is, but we serve steak and potatoes. We're opening a new location on the west side, like you said, on Watts Road. So we're looking to apply for our license for beer, liquor, and wine sales. We open June 12th. So this is we're looking to secure this license before we open for business. Our capacity is 330. And yeah, we are, like I said, looking to sell some steak and potatoes.
Yeah.
Committee, any questions for the Texas Roadhouse crew? See none. Any questions for city staff?
Do we want to ask Peter Freeman if he wanted to?
Oh, sorry.
No, I got nothing. I'm good.
Okay.
I just have an easy one. You take your estimates of percentage of food, alcohol, and other to 2 digits after the decimal. It's not very typical, at least since I've been on this committee. How did you do those calculations? Just a lot of data?
State average.
Okay.
But yeah, we all of our reports and everything, we take it to 2 decimal points. So that's just how we always talk.
That's all I have.
Sometimes the applicants do that, and I'll round, but with 0.02, I gave up and I just put it as it was.
You gave it to us for the entertainment value?
Yeah.
Alder Knox? Oh, you're mute.
Alder Knox, you're muted.
This isn't probably that relevant, but I had my birthday on March 10th at the other Roadhouse, and I waited a long time. So I'm so glad when I passed and saw you guys building on the west side. I was like, yes, that's my comment.
Well, we definitely appreciate that. We have the call ahead wait list, so come to me. I'll get you in for your birthday. Come celebrate. I'll do your shout out for you.
Next year.
That's right.
Alder Revere?
Thank you, Chair. Well, speaking of entertainment, I have to ask about your response to question number 26, which is, do you plan to have live entertainment? And the application says yes, quote, occasional line dancing in aisles by staff only. I have personally haven't seen that when I've dined at Roadhouses over the years. But is that serious? And if so, we should explain to you what our City of Madison entertainment ordinance requires so that we can clarify your response to that question.
Our line dancing, I would not consider public entertainment, but designed to distract the guest from long waiting times. So if you have not seen that, then you're probably not waiting super long. So I'd take that as a good thing. But yeah, it is not public bands. It's not anything crazy like that. It's our servers distracting from the long wait times on the weekends. It's something that we do to keep the energy fun and just kind of what we do as Texas Roadhouse culture. So but yeah, I would not say that includes that. So
thank you for elaborating. Something perhaps for some of us to look forward to, notwithstanding the wait for the tables. But more seriously, though, just if the deputy city clerk or the two assistant city attorneys here, correct me if I'm wrong, our entertainment license ordinance does not cover any longer simple dancing. And so if there's no live music, either DJ or more than a solo acoustic instrumentalist, you don't need it. And you obviously haven't applied for one of our entertainment licenses that you have sat through and seen us discuss earlier in our meeting. I just wanted to clarify that because typically, most folks would check no in that circumstance. That again, the line dancing wouldn't be considered entertainment by our definition, although I'm sure it is for your patrons.
I think
that's all I had, Chair. Thank you.
I think the exact verbiage in the ordinance is designated dance floor, but I don't know if that's what you would call this.
Just a wooden platform next to the tables. So not even, I would not consider that a dance floor.
Okay.
Well, back in the dark ages when I started my service on this committee, we actually had a cabaret ordinance, and it literally was to regulate, and Attorney Zilliby and Attorney Briss probably remember this, the main definition there was dancing. And like we were thinking of the movie Footloose and so forth, that it was silly that we were regulating dancing. And so instead moved toward the live music definition. Attorney Zilliby, do you have any other?
I was just going to say the Footloose era ended with the entertainment license.
Yes.
We're going to bring back the Footloose line dance. So like I said, June 12th, come and see us. I'll be up there dancing too. So
thanks and good luck.
Thank you.
Committee, what's your pleasure?
I figured the birthday boy wanted to move to Grant, but I'll do it if our new colleague does not wish to.
Dr. Reese, I saw your hand go up and go away.
I'll go ahead and second that.
You? Any objections? Any discussion?
Who seconded?
Dr. Reese seconded.
Was it Knox was the initial?
I think technically it was Alder Revere who.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
Move to grant. Seeing no objections, item number 24 is approved. Thank you, Mr. Hurd, for waiting with us this evening.
Oh, thank you guys so much. Have a great evening.
No problem. Next up is item 25, public hearing for a new license for Growl LLC, doing business as Barley Pop Tap and Shop, 2045 Atwood Avenue for a Class B combination liquor license. Agent Jason Hajik. Do we have him registered today?
Jason is with us in Zoom.
Excellent. Jason, can you let us know what you're planning to do over at Barley Pop Tap and Shop?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. So we've been operating Barley Pop over in the Atwood area for about 6 years now. Primarily focused on craft beer. We are both a bottle shop and a tavern. So we have had a Class B beer license the whole time. Some of the members of the committee might remember that we kind of mistakenly got a Class C license when we opened, and that was kind of rescinded later, since that's supposed to be for restaurants and we are not a restaurant. So basically trying to rectify that today, we wanted to bring back what we had initially, which was a couple of wines on tap for on-premises and maybe add a couple of cocktails on tap as well. And that's really the gist of it. Not planning on changing the business much else as far as hours or anything. Like, this is pretty immaterial as far as that goes.
Okay. Committee, do we have any questions for the applicant? Alder Revere.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, Jason. Welcome back.
Thank you.
I knew someday you'd be back for a full Class B combination. With my colleague's indulgence, could I ask you, though, about your other location on West Main Street and what the status of that is in the future? As you might.
Yeah, that's fine. We are.
As you're well aware, others have been have informed me that perhaps that space might be available someday.
That's correct. Yeah, we've basically shut down and terminated our lease with the landlord. So that business, yeah, it has ceased operating.
Okay, so I didn't know if there was any chance you'd reopen on West Main Street or not. So
yeah, circumstances just haven't allowed us to. After COVID and such, we just haven't been able to recover.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. I appreciated you in the neighborhood for the time you were here.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks and good luck with your full liquor license. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
If there's no one else seeking recognition, I'm happy to move to grant.
Can I get a second? Second by Dr. Reese. Do we have any other registrants for this?
No.
No. Any discussion, questions for city staff? Seeing none. Any dissent on approval? Seeing none, item 25 is approved. Thank you, Jason.
Yep. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yep. Have a good evening. Next up is item 27, new license for Maranatha LLC, doing business as Capital Petroleum at 1101 North Sherman Avenue. Registered agent Joseph Manny for a Class A beer.
28 is also pretty much the same.
Oh, and 28. Well, these are, they're right across down the street from each other. Can we pull both of them together, or do we want to separate them?
It's up to the committee.
Committee, what's your preference? Put these together or individual? Okay, we'll put them together. We'll also pull off item 28, Maranatha LLC, doing business as the BP station at 1010 North Sherman Avenue for a Class A beer.
Joseph Manny is registered and on Zoom.
Okay, excellent. Joseph, can you give us a little information on what your business is and what you plan to do with the Class A beer license for these two locations?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Hi, I'm Joseph Manny. I'm actually currently a owner of two gas stations that is in Madison. So we're basically a gas station with convenience store. So people come in to get beer and drinks and food and stuff. So previously the owner had beer license at that location. So we would like to do the same and serve our customers with beer and continue to serve. And the locations are right next to each other. So it's like literally 1 minute apart. And I own both of them. So, yep, that's it.
Committee, do we have any questions for Mr. Manny today? Seeing none, do we have any other registrants for this item?
We do not.
Okay. Committee, do we have any questions for city staff? Okay. Alder Revere.
Thank you, Chair. I was in the midst of looking up the current licenses for these premises. Can you confirm, Jim, what and if there are any conditions on the current licenses for these locations? Or the immediate past license, if there's not active licenses currently for this licensing year? I'm searching it.
110 North Sherman, or I'm sorry, 1101 North Sherman has two conditions: no sale of 40-ounce bottles of fermented malt beverage, and no sale of single bottles or single cans of beer or fermented malt beverage. And then look at this, 1010. And 1010 is the exact same conditions.
Thank you. And Chair, if I could ask then the applicant, do you have any objection to those conditions continuing on the new licenses? And if you've been repeated, we can repeat them.
Sure.
Yes, I will follow the conditions.
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay. Committee, what's your pleasure?
Yeah, Chair, if there are no further registrants or questions by colleagues, I would move to grant both Class A beer licenses with the current conditions continuing on each.
Okay. Do I have a second, please? Second by Dr. Reese. Any discussion? Seeing none. Any objections? Seeing none. Items 27 and 28 are approved with conditions. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, so that has brought us to finish with all new licenses. Up next is the disciplinary matter, item 29, disciplinary matter, demerit point assessment for ZAPL LLC, doing business as the City Bar at 636 State Street, with Agent Adam Greenberg. I haven't sat through one of these in a really long time, so I will turn this over to our city attorney.
So, as a reminder to you all, once the municipal court prosecution is concluded, it comes to you, and then the committee determines whether or not they want to assess any points for the violations. The demerit point assessments were changed. I don't remember now how many years ago, but they used to be, the demerit point assessments were much higher. For example, a serving to underage was a 50-point violation. I think having underage on the premises was 25. So it was much easier back then for a licensed establishment to accumulate enough points that they would be looking at a license suspension. And some years ago, the penalty section of the ordinance was revised to lower the point values for violations, and then also kind of rework the discipline that comes after the municipal court prosecution. Because also before, I would just assess the points to the violations, and then they would come to you with the total point assessment. And if it fell within the ranges, then you could determine whether or not you wanted to suspend the license. For this particular incident, obviously, they all happened on the same date, so only one point assessment can apply to the situation since all the incidents were on the same date. And I believe for permitting underage on premises, it's put on there, but I don't have a copy. I think it's 10 points. Yeah, it's a maximum of a 10-point violation.
So currently, what are the max points that you can rack up on a license before you are suspended?
Let's.
As I see here, it says previously it was 200 points in 1 year.
So this says demerit points totaling 150 to 250 within a 12-month period.
Okay.
Which under the new point value system, there are a couple that are like failure to be licensed is 100 points, but then there's nothing to suspend. Failure to comply with any condition, that's for suspension. It would take a lot to get somebody up to that level to suspend them.
So legally at this point, the most we can assess them is 10 points.
That's correct.
Okay. Alder Knox?
Sorry about that. So it's per incident. It doesn't have anything to do with, it sounds like you had over 100 kids possibly underage at this particular venue. There's no additional beyond the 10 points based on the number of, possible infractions.
Right. That was by those who wanted the ordinance change. I think that was by design so that a single occurrence like this would not result in the suspension of a license.
Right. Interesting.
Mr. Burshak?
I'll just note that the offense definitely seems worse if it's 100 and some underagers versus if there's one underager. That could be an accident or a lapse. I think what we have here goes way above and beyond that. But I do have a question. How did the prosecution go? Can you give us a bit of an outline on what we learned from that, or what the bar had to say?
Well, we met a few times, and they were mortified by the incident. It negatively impacted the license holder and his family. He was remorseful. He was willing to look at what he could do to avoid something like this in the future. He has invested in IntelliCheck. I think it's called IntelliCheck Real ID, which is, I think, in the mid to upper 90 percentile for being able to detect fake IDs. And he still sends his employees to the tavern safety trainings. I think they did meet again to go over more ID training. He collaboratively works with the police department on issues downtown.
So, Attorney Zilovey, you saw some of the IDs or all of the IDs, right? The fake IDs?
There were some that I did not see, but I did go through, I think, at least probably 115, 120 of them.
Okay. And these were of the high quality types that are difficult to detect just with your eye?
There were some that were pretty obvious if you would look at them for more than 2 seconds, but there were many that I couldn't tell how they were fake.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And that's the problem right now, is that these fakes are of such high quality that, number one, the patron scan is, I think, 50% or less in terms of identifying fake IDs when they're scanned. And many of the bars downtown purchase the patron scan after lengthy discussions about issues downtown and how to address some of them. And I think there was some reliance on the patron scan, as that if they had the patron scan, they wouldn't have to really look at the ID. I think everybody now knows that you can't just scan the ID and leave it at that, that even if you have a scanner, you have to still be looking at the ID and looking at the person presenting the ID and make a thoughtful evaluation of the ID, especially if the person presenting it looks like they may be under 21.
That's all I had for now.
Okay. Any further questions? Alder Revere?
Thank you, Chair. I do have a question of Attorney Zilovey. And Jennifer, since it's been quite a while since we've seen one of your written conviction reports, I just want to make sure that my read of it is correct. Am I understanding correctly from your memo to the committee that Adam Greenberg and you negotiated a forfeiture of almost $15,000?
Well, I don't know if it was so much negotiated as I said, this is what it's going to be, but yes.
No, but I mean, he pled to
yes
all those counts, and
yes,
and I'm not saying that we know that he's paid the entire forfeiture yet to the municipal court, but he has agreed, and that obviously the court has closed the case because that's correct. If I remember correctly, you come to us after the conviction has been entered.
That's correct.
Yeah. So Adam will be paying eventually $15,000, I guess, is the main question.
Yes, and that was also a significant impact on him.
Yes, I can imagine. Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
I guess I can't help myself. One more question, please, Jennifer. Will we be seeing similar conviction reports from you in the coming months?
Yes.
Some other high profile tavern safety checks. Yes.
You definitely will.
Okay. Can you share a number of how many you think will be coming to the committee in the next few months?
At least 4, I believe.
Okay. Thank you again. Appreciate it.
Sure.
One question I have is, do we find out in this case what the root cause was? Was it just the reliance on the patron scan, or was there an underlying root cause going on that they have now resolved?
I think it was mostly relying to thinking you have a scanner and all you have to do is scan the ID without really paying close attention. And not doing the evaluation of the person standing in front of you in contrast to the ID.
Okay.
And I think this was the first weekend before school started. And I think that was probably a lesson as well, that the most likely customers that weekend are going to be underage kids who are maybe away from home for the first time and all excited to get out and use their fake IDs.
Alder Knox?
Yeah, are you pretty familiar? I see the person had some convictions previously. Is this person new to this, or I just kind of find it interesting that they would rely on a system and not, historically they probably didn't even have a system, and people had to rely on skilled, observation. Right. So,
I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
During that, he is not new to this. I think reliance on the scanner, the fact of it being that first weekend and, long lines, trying to get people in quickly so that the line isn't lingering. All of those things.
But that couldn't have been new. That's not new. The waiting on the timing part probably is not new. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think primarily reliance on the scanner. Okay.
Is he pretty comfortable the new technology is any more reliable?
Oh, yeah. And actually, the new technology, the Madison Police Department has used it because sometimes they are unable to tell that an ID is fake unless they use that program to run IDs that they couldn't tell, is this fake or is it real? And as I said, that had, I want to say it was 96 or 98% accuracy for detecting the false IDs, whereas Patron Scan was less than 50%. And I think there may have been some unhappiness with the city regarding the Patron Scan and the fact that it's, I don't know if initially it was more reliable, and then, as time has gone on, the IDs get better and better. So I think initially Patron Scan did do a better job of vetting out the fake IDs. And as the years go on, it became less and less effective. And I'm not sure how much everybody really knew that.
Okay.
Committee, what's your pleasure?
It looks like Alder Bennett has her hand up.
Oh, I didn't see that. Thank you. Alder Bennett?
Thanks. So my questions, now I'm happy I actually stayed on this meeting. I was going to leave, but this is interesting. Okay, so my questions are just more procedurally, though. What is the ask or the vote for this? Is it to approve this, that the owner has to pay $15,000, or
that's already a done deal. Yeah. So the case gets filed in municipal court, and then it gets prosecuted in municipal court. Once the case is concluded, and it would either be concluded by a trial or by the defendant pleading to the charges or some negotiated plea to the charges. And so in this case, he pled to all of the charges, and with that plea, he agreed to pay the almost $15,000 in forfeiture.
I see. Okay.
So this is about the 10 points?
Yes.
And the 10 points would do?
The 10 points stay on the license for a year from the date of violation. So if he were to have other convictions, he could potentially have more points And the more points you get, the closer you get to a suspension or a formal expression of concern.
I see. Okay, thank you. And as a matter of, maybe this is more of a philosophical question, but what's interesting to me is that I'm sure on the night where all these fake IDs were confiscated, City Bar wasn't the only location that had underage drinkers and this many underage drinkers. So kind of how are we determining doing raids of this nature for bar? That might not be something you can answer, and how is it fair that, one person gets punished when everyone kind of gets away with it? The same thing.
I will liken it to speeding.
Get caught.
The number of people that speed on any given day is far in excess of the number of people that ever get a ticket for speeding. So it really is kind of the luck of the draw. The police department does give the same amount of attention to every establishment downtown. So, in some sense, it is kind of the luck of the draw if they go in on a night and the bar is being sloppy and has, a bunch of underage or they're over capacity, whatever, then they will face the consequences.
Thank you.
Yep.
Oh, let's see. Ms. Farley?
Yeah, I believe that this is the first time that I've been in a session with this kind of item. And I'd like to understand, or at least be reminded both for myself and possibly for my peers, on the expectation of the board, or the committee rather, and what we should be considering, and what guidelines are in place for our ultimate action or decision.
I feel like maybe Attorney Brist should answer that question.
This was intended to be a point system that would, why don't you repeat your question so I can make sure I'm answering the correct question?
Yeah, so my question really is, I want to, obviously we don't want to impose, any bias or anything like that in making this decision. And so I'd like to understand what the expectations are in considering what action should be taken and what pieces of information that we should be using to make that decision. I think similar to, if we're reviewing an alcohol license application, we should be keeping in mind the health and safety of the community. So what are our guiding principles for this kind of action?
Well, the motion here is going to be to accept the amount that can be assessed at a maximum amount. You would approve the automatic assessment of the 10 points based on whether or not there was a conviction, and there is a conviction, so that would be the basis for adding the points onto the record. Did that answer your question?
I think so. And so in that regard, I guess, is there any reason that we would consider, it sounds like there really isn't any reason that we would consider lowering or changing that in any way, or not passing it, I guess.
Given the amount of points you need to suspend the license, I don't think it would be a good policy to try to reduce the points. It would take 10 days worth of violations or something like that in order to create a situation where the license would actually be revoked. So I don't think you'd want to reduce it. I would compare this, just for the point of argument, to the point system on a driver's license, that if you get too many points, you lose your driver's license. That this is the same system, but I don't think there's any reason to mitigate the points at this point. This is the first points that I've seen assessed in several years. I think that basically if you see some mitigating factor, then I guess you would want to reduce the points. But I think the basic decision here is, was the conviction made in municipal court, and is the correct amount of points being assessed for the offense? And the answer to both of those are yes.
Thank you very much.
So committee, if we could have a motion, that would be great. Alder Knox?
I'll move assessing the 10 points.
Second by Dr. Reese. Any discussion? Ms. Farley? Or you took your hand back down? Mr. Bershak?
I'll be very brief. I think this, I'll support the motion. I see our action tonight is very symbolic. It's important. The symbolism is important. Today, the true punishment came with the $15,000 forfeiture that was imposed or negotiated by the city attorney's office.
So we have a motion, we have a second. Any other discussion, comments, any objections? Seeing none, item 29 passes with the assessment of 10 points to the city bar. Next up, we have a discussion item for the committee. It is item 30, discussion and reflection of the elected and appointed official code of ethical conduct that was passed by the city council earlier this year. Is this a discussion that I would be open to? If possible, we don't have any requirements that we have to discuss at this meeting. It's just on the agenda.
I think the requirement is that this item be placed on all boards and commission agendas annually.
Okay.
So I think that's the requirement. What would you do with it, I think, is up to you.
So if we want to have a discussion about this tonight with a few of us here, or maybe do this, refer to next month when there are more committee members here if we wanted to talk about it. But that is up to the rest of you. Alder Revere.
Thank you. Perhaps this will help my colleagues. As I understand the requirement, it simply is to, as Jim articulated, be placed on the agenda, provide the information to the board, committee, or commission members, and that's the extent of the requirement.
Okay.
So I serve on several other city committees that have had this agenda item. And as of tonight, not a single one of those committees has decided to take the opportunity to openly discuss the code of conduct in the meeting, simply to take it again under advisement, acknowledge receipt that they've read the couple of pages, and that's where it's been left. But we certainly have the option to not do that and to talk about it if we wish.
I'm good with if it's just something we need to read and be aware of and follow, that's good enough, and we'll bring it back next year to do the same thing.
Sounds good to me. Thank you.
Do we need to do anything to dispose of this item since it's a discussion item? There's no motion.
My recollection, Chair, is that the other committees I've served on haven't had a motion.
Okay. I was wondering, do we need a motion to accept? Something like that?
I suppose we could. I don't know that. Again, I don't know if there's a right or wrong reason on it. I don't know, Jim, if you had any further instruction, but I believe the last couple committees that I've seen this, we didn't have a motion, but I don't see any harm in a motion to accept.
Yeah, my guess would be something akin to like the next two items where we say, like for the next one, MPD submitted the attached report. I would say something like the ALRC read and understand the attached the code of ethical conduct or something like that.
I'll just make a motion to accept the code of conduct.
There you go.
Take a second and let's move it on. Is that okay?
Yep. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Burshak. See no objections. Moving on. It's approved. The acceptances. Now a report of the Madison Police Department. Lieutenant, do you have anything for us tonight?
Yeah, how's everybody doing?
Good.
So just a couple things, nothing significant as far as calls for service. The one thing that most of you are probably aware of is the shooting at Danny's Pub. So just a brief overview of that. So on April 9th, around 1:40 a.m. or so, we responded to shots fired outside of Danny's Pub, which is at 328 West Gorham. We ultimately learned that there was a disturbance between a couple different parties that occurred inside the bar before the shooting. That was followed by a physical altercation between two groups that led outside of the bar, and then one individual fired around at another individual. We ultimately did take one subject into custody for first-degree intentional homicide as a result. We, within the last 3 to 4 weeks, we had our community policing team conduct 2 different safety tavern trainings to all the Central District taverns that wanted to attend, and we did have a really good turnout. I think it was over 200 bar employees attended the trainings, and Attorney Zilvey was there, which we greatly appreciated. As a result of the training, I know Mondays, Wando's, Danny's Chasers, W, possibly another one, stated that they're going to implement metal detectors. And then as Jennifer stated, Mom and City Bar are deploying the IntelliCheck. So all good to hear. That's all I have.
Dr. Reese?
When you say metal detectors, do you mean a wand?
Yeah, upper.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I should have clarified.
Just for my visualization, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I had this image of Wando's with the metal detector walking through it. So thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions? Nope. Great. Thank you very much. Item number 32, report of the city clerk's office.
I have nothing to highlight in the report. We are about at the end of acceptance for renewal paperwork. I think we had about I think, I'm trying to think, 700-ish licenses active in the city to renew. I think we have about high 50s still yet to turn it in. We've passed April 15th was the point at which now we start charging a $250 late fee for any late applications because the clerk's office is required to audit all those forms and get them done in time for the end of April to get onto the May Common Council meeting to then forward to the LRC at our next May meeting, in which we'll consider the renewals for those. So at this point, I think there's quite a bit of them who are out of business at this point. I know we have 2 on this list for Capital Petrol that are at 1010 North Sherman and 1101 North Sherman, which we consider licenses today for those 2 locations. So there's some of that in the folks we have not heard from yet. But our office continues to reach out and try to make sure that people are aware, not just now, but before we have put the fine on that, that we're looking for those paperwork and try to get them. I say we're very proactive. We've sent them a letter, we email them. A lot of times we call to let them know. So we do, I'd say, well above our due diligence to try to get people to submit their paperwork on time, if not at all. And so, like I said, we hit that deadline already to get the paperwork in without the $250 fine. Our sort of drop dead date that we have is the 28th of April, because April 30th is the last date in which they can do it, but we want people to have it in our hands. So the 28th is the day that they've all been instructed that they need to have it into our office, not just postmarked by, but if they do not have it into our office by the close of business on the 28th, they can no longer renew that license, but they would instead have to apply for a new license then to continue their service.
Committee, any questions? Jim, one question I have, do we have any idea of how many those yet are going to be separated?
I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I know in the conversations I've had with Assistant City Attorney Zilby, it's not many, if any. So I would definitely say it's a very low number if there is a number at all.
Okay. Excuse me. Okay, moving on. Last but not least, request to extend license issuance deadline. Item number 33, it's a second request to extend the license issuance beyond the 180-day limit under MGO 38.05 for the International LLC, doing business as the International, 255 North Sherman Avenue, number 1, with Apollo Marquez as the agent. Do we have anyone registered for this one?
I don't see anyone registered. Catherine has her hand up. I don't know if it's for this item or for...
Ms. Farley?
I was going to move to Grant, if that's okay.
Second for Dr. Reese. Any discussion? Jim, now since we've moved to the 180-day limit, how often do we usually, at what point can we not extend these anymore before they seemingly would expire? Because then we're almost, the second issuance is it's been a year.
I mean, it's the committee's discretion if you want to accept the request or deny the request. It's purely up to you. There's nothing to say that you guys have to accept any of the requests, even the first request.
Right.
There's no guarantee that a request will be accepted. It's kind of up to the committee and the council to make the determination.
Okay. So we have a motion to accept. We have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Any objections? Seeing none, item 33 is extended. And next up, I would love to see a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Can I get a second on that?
Second.
Alder Knox, motion to adjourn. Dr. Reese, second that. Kind of balance that out between both of you. Any objections? Seeing none. The April 19th meeting of the ALRC is officially adjourned at 8:32
We have a roll
p.m.
call vote. Just kidding.
Oh, you.
Uh-oh. Hey, I just wanted to know, does anyone have the official time the meeting started? Okay.
I said it.
I know it was
36.
I think it was 5:39, I believe.
5:39.
Okay, thank you. All right. See you guys.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
A nice long meeting.
Easy.